Hello, Happy New Year, everyone. We are here in the last couple of days of 2022, and I am Carla, the Cosmic Crone, and I'm here in my beautiful new studio that we've been working on all year. And I am thrilled to be sharing with you the Mercury Retrograde chart and the insights that jumped out at me when I recognized what was going on. So as I speak with you for a few minutes, feel free to say hello in the comments, and if we've got those likes and hearts and things going on, give me some of those. And I'm not going to interrupt what I say very much to take questions in the moment, but I will come back and respond to any comments or questions that you make that are relevant to this conversation. So, hello. Hi, Marcy. Good to see you. Thank you. Oh my goodness. So where are we today? We are right now, December 30th, 2 more days or less than a day and a half of 2022 left. And yesterday morning at 4:32 a.m. where I live, on December 29th, Mercury stationed retrograde. And what is striking about it is that Mercury stationed in retrograde in an exact conjunction to Venus and a conjunction to Magdalena and very close to Pluto. So when I look at this, I see a couple of things. First off, this is an opportunity to prove your personal relationship to Mercury retrograde. Because a year ago, Mercury was retrograde in Capricorn, and so was Venus. So this is an opportunity to do a year in review. This Mercury retrograde picks up the energy of Venus, which a year ago was retrograde in Capricorn, and it is carrying that signature throughout its retrograde this time. So we began the year with Mercury ready to station retrograde in Aquarius back into Capricorn, and Venus on December 19th, 2021, stationed retrograde in Capricorn, conjunct Pluto, and went all the way back to about the same degree that Mercury is going to go to. Pretty much where the sun is today, 7 or 8 or 11, I forget. I looked up charts. Actually, I have the chart for that. Yep, Venus stationed direct at 11 Capricorn. So Mercury is going to go a little bit further back. So the point is, this is a revisiting, a review, and an opportunity to go back and say, oh, what was going on? What did that Venus retrograde reading mean to me? What happened this year? What did I intend, desire, hope for, and what happened instead? So I'm going to talk a little bit about that and give you some suggestions for making the most of it. Things that can turn into journaling prompts or just meditation prompts, however you like to process things. So let's go back to this time last year, 2021. When Venus in Capricorn, especially Venus retrograde in Capricorn, is crone Venus. Venus takes on the dark goddess qualities of the crone. And conjunct Pluto, at that moment when she stations retrograde, She's carrying that Pluto energy of death, transformation, rebirth. And this 2022 turned out to be a very intense year for that, because we were looking at, well, in some ways, we were looking at a rebirth, hopefully creating a post-COVID year. And we certainly behaved that way, even though a year ago we were dealing with a really virulent expansion of the virus. And yet, in the midst of that, we said we are being reborn from this pandemic. So that's one thing. Something else that has happened in my life, my personal life, and I've no doubt you've got a list too, is that there are many friends and loved ones who either died in 2022 or they are in the process of actively dying now. They may not make it through January. They certainly won't make it through 2023. That's rough. That is really rough. And so we are given these ones who are going forward, who are crossing over ahead of us, are giving us this view, this perception of our own mortality. And they're also giving us the gift of grief. They're giving us this sacred time of being in the poignancy of love, of watching their journey, of perhaps supporting them in their journey, and all of the gifts of that. And they're not easy gifts, but they're incredibly human and sacred gifts. And so, who knew? Who knew that that's what, we could have anticipated it, but that's what Venus retrograde conjunct Pluto was going to initiate for so many of us. And so this time of year, I think this year more than any other year ever, and we've all got our personal years to deal with, but I would say spend some time, give grief its due as you are evaluating the year and saying farewell to 2022. Grieve. Grieve what you lost. Grieve who you lost, who you're losing. Grieve what you dreamed for and it didn't work out. Grieve the person that you were on January 1st, 2022, and you are a different person today. January 1st, 2023, you're stepping in. We all crossed major thresholds. So think back. What did you intend? What were your goals? What were your desires? What were you determined to create? And then for your journal, for your meditation, make a list, write it out, and start with, what did you metabolize? What did you process? What did you integrate? What came out of left field that you never saw coming? And what did you learn? How did you grow? What did you sacrifice? What did you say goodbye to? What ended? What began? What ended and made space for what is now beginning? So ask yourself all the questions. and allow these questions, because your experience may be a little different than what I'm outlining here, but these are starting points. These are ways to process and integrate what happened in 2022, and also include gratitudes and successes, because no matter what happened, we all have something to celebrate, much to be grateful for. And we all had many, many, many successes. And they may have looked different than the successes we thought we wanted. It could be that everything we wanted took more time, and instead of getting it in 2022, we can anticipate receiving it in 2023. When we still have breath, when we still have energy and strength and desire, it's not over. And so we can carry on the vitality and the energy of our desires into this coming year. And guess what? Mercury retrograde, rehashing so many of the energies that were present a year ago, that's going to help. So here's what we have with Mercury retrograde. First off, last year, sometime in January, Mercury station retrograde, he was already in Aquarius and went all the way back into Capricorn, and met up with Venus, Mars, and Vesta, and Pluto, and the Moon. I think this was actually February 22nd. Was like this huge quadruple, quintuple conjunction of everybody. Actually, Mercury may have been direct. Mercury may have not have been part of that, but there were lots and lots of conjunctions as all of these planets were moving into Capricorn. Venus was moving backwards and then back forward through Capricorn. And Pluto was hanging out at the 26, 25, 27 degrees of Capricorn, where Pluto still is now. So Mercury was picking up all that energy, and then all the way around the wheel until here at okay, I'm looking at the December. Let's look at where Mercury is right now. Oh no, this is the one. This is the Mercury retrograde at 24 Capricorn. Venus is at 24 Capricorn, and Magdalena is at 46, almost 24 Capricorn. Mercury is picking up all that energy again. Now, Venus is direct. Venus has just become the evening star. If I were outside right now with my binoculars, I'd be able to see her. And as soon as we're done here, I am going out to take a look, because she is now showing up as the evening star. If you've got a view to the southwest, you can see her after sunset, low on the horizon. Gorgeous. So Venus is coming through Capricorn, speeding through, carrying that crone dark goddess energy, and yet she is a higher vibration. She's been around the wheel, and she's picked up all the 22 transformational energy and is carrying it into this next year. And she is at the moment, she is with Magdalena. Now, Magdalena, who for me stands for Mary Magdalene, feminine Christ consciousness, the great spiritual teacher of our epoch, she hasn't suffered, but we have suffered, because she was discounted and buried and lost and misidentified as a sinner and a prostitute and someone who needed Jesus, as opposed to someone who consorted with Jesus, who possibly was Jesus' teacher and mentor. She is an extraordinarily high vibration planet. When you see this Magdalena, you are seeing a high spiritual vibration. So here she's been hanging out with Venus, and she is meeting Mercury as he turns around and goes the other way. So Mercury is picking up that high vibration here. So remember that. This Mercury retrograde, 100% in Capricorn, high vibrational, and very much metabolizing and integrating what was real for you a year ago. And that, therefore, everything that has happened during this year gets swept up in this integration process. Now, it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's transformative. And it's not necessarily easy. You need your eyes wide open. You need to be willing to look. No hiding, no burying, no stuffing. You need to let things come up. We actually have another planet in early Capricorn, Ixion. Ixion stands for all of the things that you think are so horrible, you want to stuff them. The things about yourself you cannot acknowledge. And so you spend a lot of energy burying. You could call it shadow stuff, and it kind of is, but it's even deeper. It's below shadow. It's the stuff that the shadows hide. So he's here, and he's setting a tone right here. And right now he's hanging out with my North Node. So this is very personal for me, this level of work, which is one reason why I'm alert to it in order to share it with you. So he's there. Thank goodness all of these planets picked up his energy on their way through Capricorn, and they're not going back to touch it. But he has set a tone. He showed us what needs to be done and how to do it. So if that came up for you in November, December, throughout this holiday season, because our families are great triggers if we happen to see family, then don't bury it. Stay awake. Stay awake with this material. It wants to come to light. It wants to be metabolized. It has message for you. And Mercury is a messenger of the gods. So let's talk about what Mercury really has for you. Mercury, first off, Mercury happens to be the ruler of Gemini. And guess what's happening in Gemini? Mars right now is retrograde. Mars was part of the big conjunctions early this year during Venus retrograde and all of that. And Mars is now retrograde himself over in Gemini, which speaks a lot about communication, language, and depending on where Gemini is in your chart, it will tell you more about what's going on there and where you need to be careful or be alert and aware and tune in. So with Mercury retrograde, it's also speaking of communication and transmission. So if you didn't get the message that you needed to get back at the beginning of 2022, get it now. Mercury's bringing it around again, newer, more intense. And one of the things, and with Mars retrograde, it's all just ramping. Bigger, 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 undeniable. It might blow up on you. Don't be afraid if it does, because you'll be okay. You just need to find your core strength your inner strength, your inner truth, your boundaries if that's relevant, and allow the love, allow ancestors and divine to support you as you're going through this, as you are becoming aware. Your journal is your friend. Allow stuff to come out of the blue and get it written down on a page so that you'll know. And when you see it, look at it. One of the things that will activate in this Mercury retrograde is Saturn. Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn. So that means this is a time for reevaluating the structures in your life, the rules you live by, the rules that may be imposed upon you by someone else. Could be a job, parents, a religion, a government. It could be the rules that your unconscious mind made up to help you survive or to help you figure stuff out. And chances are that this Mercury retrograde is going to show you all the ways those rules no longer work for you, and how and where they need to be revamped. And this is tough shit because the people around us don't like it when we change our rules, when we alter the sacred container of our relationships. So how might this look? Does it look like time to quit my job, time to get a new job, time to change the way I do business, time to offer a new program in my business? I know a lot of the people listening here are entrepreneurs or healers, and you are working with people in a way that is in a business. So it could be all of that. It could be you need to change what's going on in your relationship. It could be the family container, family of birth, friends, your children, your spouse, your partner. But really be looking at sacred containers, because they are. I see when I'm connecting with Saturn, I have an uneasy relationship with Saturn. Saturn is rising in my chart. So it's like, how could that be an uneasy relationship? Well, because I don't like people telling me what to do, and Saturn sometimes takes that role. So I find that I work better when I think of Saturn as a creative cauldron. Saturn is the cauldron. I drew a card yesterday for the 12 Omen Days of Christmas. Go to Womb Wisdom Portal if you'd like to learn more about what we're doing over there. And I drew Caridwen, who is the goddess who stirs the cauldron. And she is a fire goddess, and she works with alchemy and creation. So Saturn is the cauldron. He contains and focuses the energy. And it can feel like a pressure cooker. If you happen to be in the water when the cauldron is being stirred, you can find yourself going round and round and round, and things are getting very hot. But also, you're in a vortex, and so you can find the still place in the center where you can observe and integrate and say, that's what needs my attention right now. The rest of this stuff can keep spinning, but that is for me to work with right now. So Saturn can help you with that. Mercury retrograde can help you with that. So this is a beautiful thing to start the new year with. I want you to get this. I've said it, and I'm going to say it again. This year, 2023, is beginning at a much higher octave of vibration and energy than 2022 did. It's a 7 year. I don't really know my numerology. I didn't look it up, but 7 happens to be my number, one of my favorite numbers. So I will check that out, and we'll talk about that another time. But look at this. Part of your metabolizing of this Mercury retrograde, which is going on, I forgot when it changes. Mars turns direct on the 12th, and Mercury's a little bit later than that. I think it might be the 19th or something like that of January. It's 3 weeks from when it started, 3 weeks from tomorrow, 19th, 21st, sometime in there. So as the sun enters Aquarius, Mercury will be turning retrograde. The sun is going to move through, well, the sun always moves through Mercury retrograde. That's what causes Mercury retrograde, is that conjunction with the sun. So, oh my goodness. What else do we need to know? The dark goddess is active. I focused most of my attention here on what's happening in Capricorn and what happened a year ago in Capricorn. But we have Vesta and Nessus in Pisces. This is a conjunction, and they are communicating with Psyche, which means healing of the divine feminine. Feminine, women's initiation from hapless maiden, innocent, naive, to the goddess herself. This is what's going on at this moment. This energy is being sparked. And that involves ancestral healing. And it involves the work of the priestess, the inner priestess. So that's one thing that is going on while Mercury is retrograde. It's the signature of this chart. Another thing that's going on, Juno and Neptune, which looks like a time to pull back the veils on, first off, Juno is another signifier of women's initiation, more mature, woman to crone, woman to magician, woman to witch. It's Juno initiation is more what mature women at midlife find themselves going through. And Juno is in a conjunction to Neptune, and they are both opposite Lilith asteroid, the disowned feminine within. So the opportunity here is to begin to pull back the veils, to peer through the fog of Neptune, to look at how we have been deceived by patriarchy about the feminine and feminine power. And awaken. It's time for awakening. And Lilith asteroid in the sign of the priestess Virgo happens to be a Yod configuration. She is drawing, challenging, and yet potent energy together from Saturn and Eris. So here you've got the container, the law, the cauldron, the one who brings order, and you've got Eris who brings disorder and chaos. And they are both feeding energy into Lilith, and they are drawing energy from Lilith. And this is the personal Lilith, the one that is inside, very much related to what could be going on with you in your Ixion material that I talked about a moment ago. So expect that your inner feminine is going to feel the constraints of the rules that kept her down, that kept her suppressed, contained, shamed, wounded. And you're going to feel a desire, a terrifying desire, to shake those shackles off. Adding that to Black Moon Lilith, the goddess before patriarchy, the pure, unadulterated, creative energy of the divine feminine. And everything that stands for us embodied: sexuality, pleasure, fertility, creativity, opposite Pluto. So as Pluto is informing Mercury retrograde as it informed Venus retrograde a year ago, Black Moon Lilith is opposite. And she is, oppositions are often about projection, and they can be about things that, I wish it were like this, but it's not adding up. Or I don't understand it, it feels very far away and I can't get there. So the way in actually is through the inner feminine and attending to the feminine wounds. This is all part of the energy that is going to metabolize and come to light during this Mercury retrograde. Deep, deep work. And do not do it alone. If you have a circle of women, if you have a mentor, one way you can get started, it's incredibly helpful to know where all this energy is landing in your natal chart. Dark Goddess Astrology, we look at this. So in January, during this Mercury retrograde, it is the time to work with me in Dark Goddess Astrology. In Dark Goddess Astrology, we have 2 sessions, 7 to 14 days apart, where we look deeply into the goddess points, the dark goddess, the Liliths of your chart. And then you have work to do: processing, journaling, integration. It depends on what we discover, but you'll know what you need to do to integrate that. And then we come back to the chart and we go deeper. And so we'll look at where is the Mars retrograde? Where is the Mercury retrograde? We'll look at the moon cycles. I'll look at, when I look at your chart, I'll be able to know what we need to talk about. So I'm going to put a link in after I post this video, and go for it. It's $497, 2 90-minute private sessions with me. And it's a way to get started. And we can continue, because I also, in 2023, am opening the doors to Lilith initiation. So know that that's coming, but everything starts with Dark Goddess, so you can go on and get started there. Do not do this alone. We can't do it alone. I have help, and I am here. My purpose is to support you as you're doing this work. So that is what I want you to know. That is what the planets, Mercury, wants you to know. The Dark Goddess wants you to know how to work with this energy, because it will set you up to have an extraordinary experience in 2023. What is your desire? What needs to shift in you? What do you need to integrate so that you can move forward in power? And be ready, because it's all coming. Life is pretty challenging and big right now, but know you can meet it in this higher vibration. Thank you so much. I wish you the happiest of New Year's and a most blessed and productive Mercury retrograde.